If you're looking to get consistent coaching clients from your LinkedIn profile, stay tuned for this video where I'll walk you through the exact steps on how to go about doing it. I'll show you examples on how to set up your LinkedIn profile to attract the right people and get you going so that you're getting consistent clients every single week. I'm Brian Czekanski, and I help personal development coaches build their online following so they never again have to worry about where their next coaching client is going to come from, and that they can start scaling up their coaching business with courses, group programs, whatever you want, so that you can have a consistent flow of interest and new clients whenever you have a spot available, and you're not completely dependent on word of mouth or referrals for that. So stay tuned. Every single day I'm coming out with content to help you build your coaching business. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and let's build your business in the right way. I'm not going to lie, when I first started on LinkedIn trying to get new clients and prospecting on the platform, I was very skeptical because anytime I went on LinkedIn, all I got was all these connection requests where people were either trying to pitch me right in that initial message or a message 2 or 3. It was very evident that right away they were just going to send me a pitch right away. So all I thought of as LinkedIn was kind of this place where you constantly got pitched by people all the time, and I wasn't sure that that would actually work or that I'd want to work with people that kind of appreciated that as well. But over time, I got to know a series of my peers in the coaching space, which continue to rave about how many high quality clients they were getting from LinkedIn and how just spending time on that platform was way better than some of the other platforms that were out there in doing that. So eventually I put in the work and kind of followed my own process of finding the right people, and it did turn out to be a great way of doing it. And it really was kind of bypassing what everybody else does. And I continue to this day. 99% of the messages that I get, connection requests that I get, you either get pitched right away or in that second or third message. It's pretty predictable, but there is a way to kind of bypass that. And the good part is you can kind of differentiate yourself as a coach and your business by kind of doing your business, doing your selling on LinkedIn in a different way, by actually being a human and going out there and trying to get to know people, starting those conversations and doing it in the right way. You differentiate yourself from everyone else out there, because know that anytime you do send a connection request or a message, people are going to expect you to pitch. And when you don't, they're pleasantly surprised. So let's walk through the process, kind of a few steps in terms of just starting on LinkedIn. How do you build your coaching business? How do you get prospects? And how do you get going? So the first thing is to kind of think about LinkedIn kind of like a networking event. So all those other people that are just kind of pitching right away, think of them as kind of going in and stepping into a networking event and just shouting to an open room of crowded people about what their business is and kind of walking out, and then being surprised that nobody followed them out the door and wanted to sign up right away. You really have to kind of go into that event, which is kind of LinkedIn, and start those conversations just like you would at a networking event. Kind of work the room a little bit, introduce yourself, get to know people, ask questions, show a genuine interest in the other people that are out there. And if you do that, you're going to do really well. It's kind of just slowing down the process a little bit. You don't have to go out there and just start randomly pitching other people. What you have to do is kind of start that conversation with people, and there's a variety of different ways to do that. But I would start by, number one, identifying, what is that specific audience on LinkedIn that you really want to focus on. It's really important on LinkedIn to be a little bit more specific so that when people come to your profile, anytime they see your connection request, that they're in the right place, that you can actually help them. And that's kind of the introduction to the conversation. Like, okay, this is something that somebody that I really want to talk to and learn more about. And I'll show you in just a minute. I'll show you an example of a profile, my actual profile, and how you can set up yours in a way that kind of welcomes people and starts that conversation in a genuine way and doesn't just say, I'm ready to pitch you business and it's all about me. So again, making your profile more about the audience, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But again, start that conversation by getting to know your specific audience. So in that, start taking a look at your content. Go into that search bar and search for either the industry or the title that your specific audience would tend to have. And that's really what works well on LinkedIn. If you have like a specific position title or a company or an industry that you're typically working with for your coaching business, that's going to work really well because you can search for them right away and kind of pull up those people. So what I really like to do is kind of start out by viewing a lot of these people's content. So go in there, get an idea of what they're going out there and doing. So like what's going on in their life. It's very similar to kind of starting that conversation. You're kind of just asking them questions in that you're kind of viewing their content, and then have some comments along the way. So it's a great way to do it if they do have content going out there. But depending on your audience, they might not be somebody that's putting out content on the news feed every day, and that's perfectly fine as well. Another way to do it is kind of send a connection request, but do some research on that person. Look them up on Google, find out something personal about them, and put that into their connection request. Don't just send the generic one that says, will you join my network? Just like you would go out and try and have a conversation with somebody and think about, going into an interview and, the interview for a job that you want the most. You would do some research on that person. You would find out a little bit more about them. And same thing kind of applies for LinkedIn. How can you kind of develop that personal touch a little bit so you can increase your chances that they're going to accept your connection request and eventually go on to that conversation. So once they do accept your connection request, again, if they have some content out there, like their content, comment on their content along the way. That's a great way to kind of start their conversation, make them feel good about what they have out there. And obviously you can start a conversation in those comments, but just in those direct messages as well. Once they kind of accept your connection request, that's a great opportunity to kind of get to know them, just like a simple conversation that you would have at a networking event or with anybody that you would meet on a day-to-day basis. Think about it as kind of that in-person conversation, and how can you generally try and get to know that person and not do it in a way that you're just going to ask a few questions and then try and sell your coaching business right away. Generally try and get an idea of what they're dealing with, maybe some of their pain points, what's going well in their life, and then obviously they're going to reciprocate at some point and want to learn a little bit more about you if you show a genuine interest in them. And that's a great way to kind of tell them a little bit more about your coaching and get into the fact that there might be a potential match down the line. So that's kind of step one, is starting those conversations, thinking about it in kind of that networking event type phase, and then going from there. So the second point is kind of setting up your LinkedIn profile in the right way. So I'm going to show you an example of mine just to give you an idea of how you could potentially set it up, and that really focusing on the audience so that you are in a good place. So let me walk you through exactly on how to start building your profile page, and I'll walk you through an example of my own profile, give you a way and format on how you can build out your profile. Again, think about your profile kind of as like your billboard or your advertisement or your sales page for your coaching business. So you're going out there and proactively learning more about people by interacting with their content, by looking at their profile pages, getting a little bit more sense of who they are and what they're looking to do. They're going to really reciprocate and do the same and look at your profile. So anytime you send a connection request, they're going to take a look at your profile more than likely and get a sense for, okay, is this somebody that's worth starting that conversation with? Is this somebody that I want to get to know a little bit more? So kind of creating your profile page a little bit more focused on the audience and less about you. And that's going to give them a level of comfort to say, okay, this is a person that I really want to talk to. This is something that potentially can help me, and allows you to kind of start that conversation over time. And what you'll learn is that certain people, after looking at your profile page, will be interested right away. They'll want to get on a call or a video chat just because you've kind of set up your profile in a way that develops some curiosity, but also talks about the end benefits that they're looking for. So they know they're in the right place, and they're ready to kind of learn more and develop that relationship a little bit further and a little bit quicker. It's not going to happen with everybody, but again, if you set it up in the right way, you're going to attract the right people and start having those conversations that are going to lead to clients. So if you take a look at mine, we'll start with kind of the headline right here. If we go right here, one of the things that you should think about is, again, being more specific about what audience you're going to target on LinkedIn. It really is helpful to, when people come to your profile page, that they can see that you're really focused on a specific audience that they fall under. And it's going to help out kind of being within your search as well, as people are kind of typing into the search bar. allowing your profile to show up because you're kind of speaking their language, speaking exactly what they're searching for as well. So, think about kind of the format here is I help whatever specific audience that you're really focused on. For me, I'm focused on those personal development coaches, kind of building out their online presence, specifically on YouTube. So that's really my focus on LinkedIn, is finding people that are comfortable on being on video and on YouTube, and getting those consistent clients through that avenue. So, that's kind of the key benefit that I'm looking for. So you have your audience, I help a specific audience, and then what is that key tangible benefit that they're really looking for? What is maybe a key solution to their pain point that they're really striving for, and how they can hire you as a coach and get there quicker and easier than they would on their own. So for my audience, it really is getting those clients, the prospective clients in the door every single week. They want to kind of eliminate that angst and that boom bust cycle of not knowing where their next client is going to be. Maybe they have a lot of good referrals and word of mouth, but they don't have a lot of control over that. They want to be able to kind of pull the lever and get a new client from their online presence whenever they want to. So that's really the key benefit that I'm really helping to solve for them. And that's kind of a key pain point, especially for those people starting out in the coaching business, but along the way needing that as well. So my profile headline really speaks to that key benefit that they're looking for, specifically in building out their YouTube brand and going about doing that. So I help whatever specific audience, and then whatever that key benefit that they're really focused on and how you can help them in your coaching business. And then the last part is kind of talking about your key process on how you can get them to that key tangible goal. So most people know that when they hire you as a coach, that you're not going to get them to that goal in week one. So you want to think about it as kind of a 3 or 4 step process on how you can kind of get them through those obstacles and roadblocks to that end goal that they're looking for eventually at the end of your time or even before that. So think about kind of your marketing process. So you can work with your coaching clients in a specific way, but you should have a marketing process that talks about and kind of gives people the roadmap on how you can specifically help them and kind of get to that key tangible goal that they're looking for. So for me, I call mine the hive method, and I'm kind of trying to create a visualization of, this coach kind of being the queen bee in a hive where they're kind of surrounded by, this swarm of bees that are out there, and kind of think of those swarm of bees as kind of all those prospective clients that they're going to have surrounding them with a lot of great interest as they build out their YouTube profile in the right way. So excuse me, that's really what I want, that visualization for people. And there's so many calls where I've kind of started out with people that have seen my profile on LinkedIn, where the first question they ask is, can you tell me more about the hive method and how it can get me more clients from my coaching business? So in some ways it's kind of developing that curiosity, but also kind of setting that next step in the conversation, which might be a phone call or a video chat via Zoom, and kind of talking about how you can actually help them and get them moving forward. So again, all the focus is really on the audience. It's less about me and me as a coach. It's more about what the audience is looking to achieve and how I can get them, what's that roadmap to getting there. And if you do this in the right way, you're going to really differentiate yourself versus all the other coaches that are out there. And again, people are going to come to your profile page and know that they're in the right place. So again, what you should do is, again, on the left-hand side, think about having a high-quality profile picture out there. So, if you have to go out there and get a professional photo taken, if you don't have a great one, but make sure that kind of something that represents you and your coaching business and what you're trying to put out there. Don't just make it kind of a dark selfie. Make sure it's something that's clear and kind of represents you well. And then kind of the banner here. Again, this is just another opportunity to kind of highlight the key benefits that you're going to provide for your audience, develop some curiosity by talking about your process. So again, put a specific name to your process, put some intellectual property to your process that kind of speaks to that end benefit that you're trying to get them. That's going to ramp up the curiosity a little bit more. You're going to get to the point where people are asking about what is that process all about and how can it help me. So it's a great way to kind of differentiate you and your business, just because as you come up with a unique name for your process, it's something that they're not going to see from other coaches that are out there. It's going to kind of separate you and say, I have this unique process. Here's how I work with people. Here's how I get them to that key benefit that they're looking for. And here's the specific audience that I'm trying to do. And then same thing as you go down in your further profile and your About Me page. Again, speak to kind of the pain points that your specific audience has. What is that benefits that they're looking for? And then provide a little bit more about yourself. So again, think about it as a conversation. In that conversation, people are going to ask about you. What's your, how did you get into coaching? So talk about the why and how you got into your coaching. Maybe it was a specific personal experience that you went through as a good highlight for why you got into coaching, and maybe some of the pain points that you had in your own life that you were able to kind of transform yourself in the same way you're trying to work with those people and get them over those same roadblocks and obstacles as well. So by sharing a little bit more about you in a way that kind of reflects the pain points and kind of the opportunities that your prospects are looking for, you're going to develop that connection and kind of be on that same level over time. So that's kind of the profile example. So in the comments below, let me know in kind of looking at this format, if you're going to look at the headline, give me an example of your headline and who are you specifically going to help as your specific audience. Do some research in terms of the key tangible benefit that they're looking for, and actually put some ideas on what your process, what's the unique name that you would put to your specific process and going out to your market and helping them visualize what you can do for them. So the one final thing I would talk about in LinkedIn is kind of going out there and kind of demonstrating your expertise and putting out content. So I'll provide you another example as well on how you can actually go that. How do you start demonstrating your expertise? How to let people get a better idea of who you are, and that will allow people to reach out to you and start being clients. So the last part on LinkedIn and kind of the last stage that you can kind of think about in that conversation. So again, thinking about LinkedIn as kind of that networking event, and that you're trying to have conversations with people, kind of engaging with them, building that relationship over time. Another great way to do that is by putting out content on a regular basis on LinkedIn that's really relevant to your specific audience, what they're dealing with, what are some of their pain points, what is that key end goal that they're trying to put out there, but also sharing a little bit more about your personal experiences as much as possible. So again, in that conversation, that face-to-face conversation that you would have in an in-person networking event, you'd share a little bit more about you'd be a little bit more vulnerable, and that would allow people to kind of be in your world and get to know you a little bit better. So there's kind of two main ways to do that. So you can put on content on the regular LinkedIn newsfeed that does have kind of a character limit, so it's a little bit shorter in terms of the text that you can put out there. And a great way that you can kind of show up every day in LinkedIn is by putting out kind of a video. So it's not something that one of the best things that you can do for content on LinkedIn is, and one of the things that you should be aware of is that if you're linking to other content off of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is gonna hold back the amount of people that are going to see your content. So if you're creating content specifically for LinkedIn, making sure that there's no links that go off of LinkedIn. If you're going to create longer articles, there's a LinkedIn article creator. So you're looking at one of my most recent article about how you can kind of step into the mind of your prospects. And this is really good for you, or I kind of outline, if you're creating content on LinkedIn or elsewhere, how can you kind of get into their head and find out what topics and what things do they really care about? What are kind of those words and phrases that they're using? So, go to my LinkedIn profile, check out this article, and that will help you as a good first step in terms of creating content that really resonates with your audience and kind of getting into their head and doing it in that way. So again, in the regular LinkedIn news feed, there's kind of that character limit for what you can write in there. And again, make sure that you're not linking to something off of LinkedIn in that main post. If you're going to link to something outside of LinkedIn, do it in the comments so that LinkedIn is kind of sharing your content and as freely as possible. And that's one of the great things about LinkedIn, as opposed to Facebook or some of the other platforms where the news feed is continuing to be crowded on a day-by-day basis. So take Facebook as an example. You might have a ton of followers there, but Facebook is only going to show your post to about 4% or less of your followers just because the news feed is so crowded. But LinkedIn is at an earlier stage of the process where it's really very hungry to get more content. It wants to share your content as much as possible. So if you're creating content, excuse me, you should know that not only are all your connection requests going to see your article in their news feed, but they're probably going to share it if there's very good engagement in terms of the comments, likes, shares. LinkedIn's going to take it a step further, and it's going to show your content to the friends of the friends and to other people. You can use hashtags as well to get a broader distribution. So, LinkedIn is one of those that if you're creating content, it's going to very much show it to all your followers and connection requests, but also the friends of the friends and kind of that expanded audience a little bit more freely versus Facebook and some of the other platforms where they're at a later stage of the process. So LinkedIn, as much as possible, wants your content and is going to distribute it more widely as well. One quick tip in terms of creating great content on LinkedIn, how to differentiate your coaching business, is thinking about creating like a short video, maybe every single day or every other day that you can put on the news feed so that people can kind of see and hear from you on a regular basis. Again, think about it as having that conversation with your prospect at kind of a networking event. If they can kind of see your face and get to know you a little bit better versus kind of the text where they can't really see and hear from you as well, building that familiarity with you enough that they feel kind of that connection is really good. And know that a lot of other coaches, that might be on their news feed. For a lot of coaches, getting on video is kind of a terrifying experience. But if you're willing to go out there and kind of do it on a regular basis and get that practice, you'll get to the point where you feel really comfortable and you differentiate yourself because you're one of the few that's putting up a video in there and showing up and building that connection over time. So if you can, try to put up some video content on a regular basis every other day. If you can do it every day, just maybe a 2 or 3 minute video, that really helps as well to kind of share a little bit more about yourself, but also talking about the topics that they really care about. So again, go to my LinkedIn article here where you can learn a little bit more about that. And if you look at my other LinkedIn articles, you can see I share a lot more about my personal experience. So if you go into my LinkedIn articles, you'll get a good sense of who I am, some of my experiences, what I've been through, a little bit more about me. So again, going back to that conversation, it's not all about, you and your coaching business and what you're trying to sell. It's also about you as a person. People want to get to know their coach before they hire them to make sure that, if they're spending 3 months or 6 months or a longer period, that they feel comfortable in that connection with you as well. So it's a great way on LinkedIn to create great content that kind of speaks to that and kind of answers those questions for your prospects. So, that's kind of the key process, again, for going out there on LinkedIn. Think about it as kind of a networking event. Go out there, engage with your prospects and your specific audience's content. Go out there, like their content, comment on it, share it as much as possible. Then set up your profile in the right way to make sure that they're in the right place when they come to your profile, that you can get them the specific benefit that they're looking for. You have a unique process that has a name attached to it. And again, kind of putting out content and kind of completing the circle a little bit, and that you're having those conversations, you're allowing people and demonstrating your expertise over time and talking about the topics that they care about, but also sharing a little bit more about you, sharing some vulnerability, letting people into your world so that they feel a little bit more comfortable about hiring you and spending that time with you to getting to that goal that they want the most. So again, check out my LinkedIn profile. You see the URL at the top there. It's Brian Czekanski. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. I'd love to share this content with any other coaches that you might have within your network or anybody else that's starting to get some clients on LinkedIn and have some interest there. Comment below. Again, tell me what you're really focused on. What's that specific audience that you're really focused on LinkedIn, and what maybe some names for your unique process and that key benefit that you're looking for. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, coming out with content every single day on how to build up your coaching business and get you going in the right direction by building up your online presence and turning that into consistent clients for you every single week.